All right, Dave, ready?
Yep.
Okay. All right, we're glad you're here today, wherever you are. Glad all of you are here. All you victorious Christians, amen? Yeah. All right, that was kind of weak. Amen.
Amen.
Let's figure out where we are here. We are on a Tuesday. Jesus is going to die within hours. Jesus has just been dealing with some interesting things. Now remember, we take Matthew, Mark, and Luke mainly and put them together for a single whole. And once in a while they overlap. Okay? They overlap. It's like someone telling, I want you to go to the store, and someone else telling you, I want you to go to the store. Overlap. You're going to see a little bit of overlap tonight between the Gospels. Jesus has made his way up to the Mount of Olives. Okay? You're going to see an overlap because one of the Gospels goes like back a few steps and then brings the story back. And you'll see that. You'll see that obviously. I'll tell you when that comes. Now, Jesus has been talking about the end times, the end of the world. This is famous Matthew chapter 24 and 25 that'll come. So this is the famous prophecies of what happened. Now, last time we talked about the beginning of the prophecies of the end of the world, and that was like a couple weeks ago. Now, let's pick up where we left off, because he's still on top of the hill talking about the same subject. Okay? Here he goes. In Matthew 24:15. When he therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whereso readeth let him understand. Then verse 16. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Okay, we need a historical account here to understand what's going on here. There was a individual, and he came along, and he had been a real nice guy for a while. But he turned on Israel. He turned on Israel, and he went into the Holy of Holies, and he sacrificed a pig on the altars. Okay? And his name was Euripides, and he sacrificed a pig on the altars. Now, what he's talking about here is this, is that there was a man that physically did that prior to Jesus speaking here. And what Jesus did is that he takes that man, Euripides, and he relates to him in symbol to the Antichrist, which is yet to come. Alright? Now, he reverts back to Daniel. That's what he said, whoever readeth let him understand. And to understand this, we have to go a little bit into Daniel. We're not doing prophecy here per se. We're talking about it because Jesus mentioned it, but we're not really, digging deep. We're just kind of digging one shovelful, all right, and then go on. Because that would be studied by itself. Now, Daniel was a man, and in his little books you'll see Daniel's prophecies. Daniel was a man that had all kinds of vision and all kinds of dreams. God revealed things to Daniel by vision. What's a vision? Vision is open revelation. Dreams are when you're sleeping. You're sleeping and you're dreaming. Okay, you're dreaming. You're sleeping. That's dreaming. Vision is when your eyes are open and you're awake, and God shows you something. That's a vision. Dreams are when you're sleeping and God speaks to you through a dream. Okay, a dream. And Daniel received revelation when he was sleeping, and revelation when he was just praying and God revealed things to him. Now, inside this revelation Daniel had, he had a whole host of things dealing with the end times. I mean, just all kinds of things. And if you want to study end times, you have to take the book of Revelation and the book of Daniel and kind of match them together. Because Daniel would give the revelation, and Revelation would give the explanation, basically. Now, in Daniel chapter 11, verse 31, we're only dealing with a shovelful of prophecy here. Just a shovelful, that's all we're doing. Now, Daniel says, 11:31, and the arm shall stand on his part, and he shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolation. Daniel is talking about what Jesus said in Matthew 24, 15 and 16, which this ancient king did, which the Antichrist will do. Alright? So remember, prophecy is always past, present, future. Prophetic is always past, present, future. It falls to that. What happened, there's Daniel saying, Jesus mentioning it, and it's yet to come. Prophecy is always yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's why prophecy always keeps. When there's a prophetic incident in the Bible, it keeps. It's a future. It can happen at the moment. Jesus talked about something that happened prior to him speaking about it. Daniel talked about something after he spoke about it, and Jesus picked it up that it's going to happen again later. The first two things happened. Jesus spoke about it, Daniel saw it, and it's yet to come. Alright? And that's what's happening here. So Daniel said there's going to be somebody that comes along that takes away the daily sacrifice. That happens in the third temple when Israel builds the third temple and they reinstitute the ancient custom of daily sacrifice. That has not happened yet. Reason? There's no temple. Where the temple is, the Dome of the Rock is by the Muslims. So this is yet to come. So Jesus is speaking future as well as past. Now, let's go to verse number 11 in chapter 12. Now remember, we're not divulging this a whole lot because that would take another 107 lessons. We're not doing that, okay? We'll do that another time. Now, involved in this, Daniel again says, and at the time said Michael, stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and thou shalt be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at the time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found in the book. Now, what's he saying here? He's saying is there's going to be an occasion. Michael is an archangel. There's only two names, Michael and Gabriel, mentioned in the Word of God by name. Michael is the fighter. Gabriel's kind of like the guy that comes with the good. Gabriel's a good news guy. Gabriel comes with all the goodness. Mary, you're going to have a baby. So-and-so is going to happen. Such. Gabriel's the bearer of good news. Michael has a sword in his hand. Michael fights everybody. Okay? Michael's the guy that shows up in the heavenlies that Daniel had problems with. Daniel prays, and God answered the prayer. But on the way down from heaven, Satan stopped the prayers, and Michael came and fought against the enemy to get it to Daniel. He gets it to Daniel. He tells Daniel that God answers prayer 3 weeks before, and then he says, excuse me, Daniel, I got to go back up. And he disappears and goes and fights some more. Daniel's always warring. He's the warring angel. Gabriel's a nice guy. You know, Gabriel's, the old saying, Gabriel's going to blow his horn when Jesus comes back. Go, Gabriel, blow your horn. That's good news. Michael's fighting out. Gabriel's blowing horns. Okay, now, in Daniel chapter 9, there's a series of calamities. Just a series of problems and calamities that's going to take place. Now, Jesus picks this up. Okay, Jesus spoke what? Old Testament. Jesus spoke the Old Testament. So Jesus picks up. If you want to read Daniel 9, you'll discover that Daniel 9 has a series, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, of calamities that's going to happen when? Future. Beyond us now. Beyond us. Hasn't yet happened. Okay? Let's look at one in Daniel 9:26. Look at this. Okay? And after 62 weeks, said Messiah shall be cut, but not himself. Now this is getting into a technical thing here. And the people of the prince shall come and shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and the end of the war, desolations are determined. Look at verse 27. I'm trying to get you some clarity here. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. He's not talking about a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. He's talking about years. Alright? You say 1 year. I'll show it to you in a minute. And in the midst of the week there shall cause the sacrifice, the abomination, the oblation to cease. That's giving the sacrifices by the Jews on the altar. And for the overspreading of abomination he shall make it desolate, even to the consummation, and the termination shall be poured upon the desolate. That's what Jesus was saying. He said there's going to come a time in the future that there's a person that's going to come and do abomination on the altar in the third temple. That's what Jesus was talking about. That's what Daniel alluded to. Now, we don't have time to do everything here, because if we did, it'd take us another 107 weeks right here. But it's basically like this. Is that these weeks are weeks of years. These are weeks of years. It's called Daniel's 70th week. Okay, let me try to draw you a real quick confusion. Okay, air thing. Okay. Now, from the day that Adam was created, all the way to the cross, back. Then from the cross, other side of the cross, all the way to Jesus comes back. Now, all right? In Daniel's thinking, these are weeks. From Adam and Eve, all the way to the cross was 69 spiritual weeks. You can count it up. There's years involved here. Now, from the cross, what happened at the cross is this. There was a parenthesis. It's like saying, Jack and Jill went up the hill. Oh, by the way, I have to tell you about Jack. Fetch a pail of water. Okay. The 69 weeks, Jack and Jill went up the hill. Parenthesis. In that parenthesis, it's called the church age, which we're in now. That happened at the cross. Jesus dying, Holy Spirit coming, church is born. It's called the church age. So it's Jack and Jill went up the hill. Let me tell you about Jack. Fetch a pail of water. 69 weeks, church age. Everything in the Old Testament. And then all of a sudden, parenthesis, it's called the church age, close parenthesis. Now, then you draw a line and it's 70. Jack and Jill went up the hill. Stop. Let me tell you about Jack, let me tell you about Jill, let me tell you about the pail. Let me tell you about the well to fetch a pail of water. Spiritually, watch. Okay? 69 weeks. All that's happened. This is from Adam and Eve to the cross. 69 weeks. Jack and Jill went up the hill. Here's the cross. Parenthesis. This is happening now. Close parenthesis. It's yet to come. Here's what's happened. The world has lived for 69 weeks. Okay, 69 weeks, and this is 439 years from the cutting off and all. This is really for another study. Okay, watch this. In the parenthesis at the cross creates a parenthesis. Church age. The back end of the parenthesis has not closed. So the church age is still operating. Like this. Jack and Jill went up the hill, parenthesis, By the way, Jack was before. He's up there, and he married Jill, and they have 7 kids, and he lives in the village down the way. And you tell the story of Jack and Jill. Okay, you tell the story of Jack and Jill. Jack's wearing black slacks, and Jill has her hair in a bow, and blah 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 blah, on and on and on and on. And it seems like the story is being carried out. That's where we are right now. Church age is that parenthesis. All these other things happen. Here comes the cross. Bang! Here comes the cross of Jesus. Here comes the parenthesis. Here comes the church age. When the Holy Spirit came, church age began. And that's still happening. Because here we are. There's going to come a time when the church age is going to close. The parenthesis is going to close. And the next thing will happen. That's this verse. That's this verse. What's going to happen is, along the way, this is occurring. Jesus died, church age. Church age. Close parenthesis. When does the church age close? When Jesus comes back and raptures the church. And I'm not talking about a denomination or a group. I'm talking about the body of Christ. When the body of Christ goes up, the parenthesis closes. Jack and Jill went up the hill. This is what Jack did yesterday. He went shopping at Walmart and da-da-da-da. And he finally got the pail of water. Jesus comes back, and then there's something else. These passages are with something else. This is yet to come. This is yet, I know it's a little technical. Now, what's interesting about this passage, there's 2 things here. Remember I told you, Revelation is past, present, and future. These passages of Scripture, when Jesus talked about them, 10 years after Jesus, go back, Margaret, go back, just go back. Keep going until I tell you to stop, all right? After Jesus said this, right here, in Matthew 24, 15, and 16, ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place. Whoever readeth, let him understand. Now, 10 years after this, Jesus is gone 10 years. The Roman general Caligula, who became the Caesar, and this guy was as wicked as they come. He's probably one of the most wicked Caesars ever. He's the one, Caligula's the one that put all the Christians on the crosses. He's the one that had the Christians go into the Circus Maximus and also into the famous Colosseum and have them ripped apart by animals. He's the one that lit the roads of Rome by putting tar on crucified Christians and lighting them up. So when you walk down the roads of Rome in Caligula's time, the light that you would see to walk was coming from burning Christians on crosses by the thousands. That was Caligula. Now what Caligula wanted to do was, he decided that he wanted to be God because all Caesars were in their mind. But he did something that no other one did. He decided to put a statue of himself. And put the statue of himself in the temple in Jerusalem. Now he's in Rome. He sends a statue of himself for everybody to see God. Caligula in Rome. That's now God in Israel. So he said, what I'm going to do is create a great statue, have it transported to Jerusalem, set it up on the temple, and have all Israel come and worship me. And worship me. An idol in the temple. That's what Caligula decided. Which would cause absolute chaos in Jerusalem. The Jews would rebel and things would not be good for anybody. Now what happened is that what would happen is that would render in the revolt a destruction of Israel. Because the Romans would come, put down the vote, wipe out Israel off the face of the map, and Caligula's statue would be there. So Caligula had this idea. So here's what happened. he gets the statue already, and they ship it from Rome to Jerusalem. Think about that day shipping I'm not sure if they packed it and, FedEx took it. All right? However it got there. But here's what happened. The statue never arrived. It just disappeared. No one ever knew in history what happened to the statue. No one ever knew. So Caligula got really upset. But here's what happened. Somebody assassinated Caligula. Historical fact in Rome. Someone killed Caligula because that's what happened. You're a Roman Caesar, you get knocked off by the next guy, you become a Caesar. Vicious world. So Caligula was assassinated, but the statue disappeared and never went into the place in Jerusalem, which bought Israel more time. Okay, would bought Israel about 33, 40, about another 30 years, until 70 AD when Titus came and knocked everything down. Now, got it? I know it's a lot historical, but you have to know. Look at 2 Thessalonians. Okay, go back where we were. 2 Thessalonians. Okay, keep going, keep going. Right there. Look what Paul said in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, 3, and 4. Let no man deceive you by any means. Don't get deceived. For that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and the man of sin shall be revealed, the son of perdition. 4. Who opposes and exalted himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped. So he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. See the relationship between the future Antichrist and Caligula? See what happens? See the Antichrist which is to come versus Caligula, which is gone. And Jesus was talking about it. Paul says, listen, don't be deceived. Don't let anybody trick you, okay? Because there's going to be a falling away. People that love God are going to go in the opposite direction. Folks, we're seeing that today. Wholesale. That's why all that pressure against the child of God, you get it. All that pressure. You're seeing these scriptures begin to reveal. Now, have they been fulfilled? No, haven't been fulfilled. Why? Because Jesus has not come back yet. Remember the parenthesis? That parenthesis is still open. When Jesus comes back, that parenthesis is going to close. The body of Christ is going to be taken out, and week 70 happen with all this bad stuff will happen. So there's going to be a person that rides on the scene that will be able to fool the entire world into believing that he is God. Look at the verse. That he will be called God, worshipped as God, sitteth in the temple as God, and saying he is God. And that's going to happen. And that's going to happen, okay? Remember, Jack and Jill went up the hill. Let's talk about Jack for a while. That's going to happen in that 70th week in the middle, about 3.5 years after the church's rapture. Okay? That's going to happen. This has not happened yet. Thank God I don't worry about this. Neither should you. Why? Because you ain't going to be here. Amen.
Amen.
I'm not talking about dead in the grave. This could happen. Jesus could come back in the next 2 minutes, and we don't worry about this stuff.
Amen. Amen.
I don't worry about the Antichrist. I never, it's interesting to study, and it's interesting to teach, but I don't worry about the Antichrist. Why? I'm going to leave. Hallelujah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Child of God going home. Okay? Now, let's continue what Jesus said. Remember, we can't get too much into this. Probably a lot of you's going, bing, bing. All right. Luke 21:20. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies. I want you to see this. Then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out. And let not them that are in the countries enter hereto. Now watch this. Verse 20 has happened before. It happened when Titus came and surrounded Jerusalem with the Roman armies and knocked down and took Jerusalem to the ground. There was nothing left but the famous Western Wall, which was a retaining wall. The temple was totally wiped out. The famous Wailing Wall, the Western Wall, that everybody goes and prays, and the president goes up there, and everybody goes up there. That's not part of the temple. That's the Western Wall. Right? That's a retaining wall that kept the hill from falling in on everybody. So they built this gigantic wall. That's important. We'll get back to it in a second. Now, he says here that when you see Jerusalem compassed about with armies, that happened. Caligula didn't make it. He never got it. But Titus in AD 70 did. Jerusalem was surrounded with armies. Surrounded with armies. And over the centuries, everybody wants to take Jerusalem. This is why, listen to me, this is why the world made such a stink when the American embassy went to Jerusalem. This is the prophetic utterance starting to happen. Starting to take place. Because all the nations shall do what? Surround Jerusalem. Now, one of those nations, and this is again thinking about this, one of the nations is Soviet Union, Russia, and China. Okay? Now, Jesus will take care of that. The Bible says he'll destroy them with brightness is coming. Now, that's going to happen. This is future. Has it happened? Yes! With Titus, many times over. Will it happen again? Yes. When's it going to happen? When that parenthesis closes and you have that one area left. Okay? And it says, flee, get out, go away. Don't worry, he's not talking about you, because you'll be already gone. Let's see the next one, Matthew 24, 16 through 20. Alright. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let him that is in a housetop come down to take anything out of his house. Or get out of Dodge. Neither let them which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in winter, neither on the Sabbath day. Or simply, in these verses, run for your life. Don't worry, he's not talking about you. Not talking about you. It's about those that are left. That run for your life. Run for your life. Because when they talk about Sabbath day, the Jews only could go 1 mile during the Sabbath day. They can only leave and walk 1 mile. And so that's why God says, pray it won't be on the Sabbath day, because you can only go 1 mile. And then pray it not be in winter, because you'd be cold. And babies, mother and baby, and that scenario. And if you're working, don't go back and get your stuff. And if you're looking out, get out. Basically, get out of the house. Go away. Run for your lives. Don't worry. You don't have to worry about that. That's not for you. I'm not talking to you. He's talking, number one, to Israel. Number two, he's talking about those that are left after the rapture. It should be a bad time. That's another whole thing. Right? Let's go to 21. Okay? Again, we're taking a shovelful and going back. Alright? Now watch this. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple. Now remember I said that Jesus now is up on the hill. So Matthew retells the story. Matthew says, okay, I left something out. Alright? He's already gone out of the temple. He's already on the hill called Olive. So what happens is, it's like a flashback. You see a story, the guy remembers what happened yesterday. Okay, hours before, watch this. Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and the disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. These magnificent structures. Remember we said how long it's taken to build this temple? 46 years, it wasn't done yet. It wouldn't be done after Jesus was already crucified and went back to heaven. There's a lot more building left in the Temple Mount. Jesus' entire life, they're building this building. And notice it's building, so there's more than one. They're building this Temple Mount. Now, as they're walking out, the disciples came and said, "Hey, Jesus, look at all this." Maybe look at the construction. Look at the construction. Look at the construction. Now, let's sneak in Daniel. Daniel gets visions and Daniel gets dream. 12:1. At the time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble. Look at this. Such as never was since there was a nation even to that same time, and of the time they people shall be delivered, every one that shall be not found written in the book. Simply this. There's going to be a whole lot of problems before the final redemption. But don't worry, he's not talking about you. All right, he's not talking about you. He's talking about Israel and the general world. He's not talking about you. You go when? You go before, you go at the closing of the parenthesis. Jesus comes back. Let me draw an air picture, okay? You take Adam and Eve right here, and you go in the weeks and Daniel's, and you go up to Daniel, and you start trekking. This is time. Time is moving that way. Right? Time. Daniel talks about it. Time. The prophets, Isaiah, they all go through, so on. As you have your little, so and so. And then Jesus comes, then the cross. Okay, we're going that way. The cross. We've gone 69 spiritual weeks of years. Okay, another subject for another day. There you go. Here comes the parenthesis. Church age. By the way, if you fill in a number, it's been 2,000 years. From the opening of this parenthesis, it's been 2,000 years. Jesus died. Okay? Jesus comes back and close parenthesis. Okay? So you have 69, close parenthesis, and then the last week. Okay? Last week. These passages here are dealing with the last week. Is called the week of Jacob's trouble, or it's called the tribulation period, or the great tribulation. And how do you slice in half? Another study, another time. Okay. So what happens is there's going to come a time when problems. Why is problems? Because this guy, he does things so well. They're going to be deceived. Here's why. Because he's going to make everything wonderful in the world. It's going to be the best time for 3.5 years. Zero problems, zero crime. It'll be zero everything. But in 3.5 years, he's going to go, I'm God. Like Caligula did. I'm God, and I'm going to be worshipped. And he's going to set himself in that temple we read a few moments ago. And he's going to go, here am I. He's what he's talking about. He standeth for the children of people in the time of trouble. It's going to be so bad there never was anything like it